Hello everyone! Recently I've been working on a museum, and as you can see it's quite a large build, and so I like to use these large rooms for it. However, there's one problem with these. They are a bit too large. Like, I would like to have this section right here, for example, cut off from the rest of this. However, interior walls don't really like to play ball here. You can only put them on these outer edges that connect to other rooms. So then the question becomes, how the hell are we gonna get a wall in this section? Well, today I'm gonna show you two methods. One being cheaper and easier on the computer than the other one. So in the recent video where I did the tour of the museum, I showed you that I was using light blocks as a barrier. However, this has one issue. Well, actually it has multiple issues. One of them being, when you reload the game, for some reason it all turns green. At least it turns green in my case. I'm not sure why it does that. The rest of the lights seem to be fine, but for some reason these light blocks are not. So, using them as a massive wall divider, well, make sure to schedule an hour in advance if you want to play the game to turn all of them into the color you want. And the neat thing is if they ever fix this bug, you actually have a decent wallpaper design, because you can basically turn them into any color you want. However, if you do go too bright, it lights up the room significantly. The other issue though, is if you place too many of them down, because it gives off light, it will also generate a ton of lag throughout the base. Less ideal. Also, one of those lights costs you a solar cord, which can become quite expensive. So last night I got to brainstorming and actually found a new way of building walls. And all it requires are a couple super alloy rods. So all you need for it is the recipe for the safe vault. This can be found in one of the shipwrecks, near the room where you find the planet viewer. You do need to activate a fusion reactor for it to open up the door, but if you found the planet viewer room, you know you got the safe as well in the area. But anyway, all you need to do is find the spot where you want the wall to be. In my case, I want to have it like this, and as you can see from this angle, it already looks good. However, not so much from this one. So what you want to do is you want to take another vault. You want to flip it around, make sure that the front-facing side faces into the other vault. And then you want to see how far you can go. As you can see, it turns red here. However, if we finesse it a little bit, you can see that it doesn't actually move, but I tilt my mouse down slightly, and it goes from red to yellow. And then you just place it down. And so it is a rather thick wall, but it's only slightly thicker than these things, than the light cubes. So these signs, I hung them up when I was placing the light blocks. Then I removed the light blocks afterwards, because, well, all the problems I had with them. And then I just placed these vaults down. Now as you can see, it doesn't stick out that far. It doesn't actually go over the sign. And neither does it on this side. It does go a bit farther, as you can see, but not by much. Also, I'm sorry if that angle was a bit off. I'm trying not to spoil the endings. That's what was on those signs. Yeah, so now we have a nice dividing wall. All I need to do is kind of rework all of this, and I'm gonna have to replace them anyway, because as you can see, there's a gap in the wall here. But let me fix up this room real quick, and then you can see what it will look like. And then just like that, you got yourself a wall. The corners are a little different. If you want to have a flush wall like this, and not have the sides of it stick out, what you'll have to do is you have to place another vault down in a row, just similar to these. And then you can just clip the other vaults, the sideways ones, inside the original vault. So yeah, the update where you could clip certain objects and structures into each other, it's actually very powerful. As you can see, I did the same with these display cases. It pushes them back slightly, and I actually quite like that. Not for this one in particular, I have to move this text, but you can see what I mean with this. And it looks a lot better than having it in the open here. Now I do have to change this room a little bit, because I'm not really happy with how all the signs turned out. But the overall shape and what it looks like, especially from right here, I like that a lot. So those were the two ways of making walls in the game. One with color blocks, so you can always choose what color you want. And then vaults, which I personally like better because As you can see, it basically looks the same as regular walls. These are not vaults, that is just part of this structure. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed, and I see you all on the next one. Bye everyone.